敵前で背中を見せるのは危険です。
正面から立ち向かえば殺されていた。生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。命を落としたらもうどうしようもないんだ。
Hello everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. Today we are going to cover another anime line of the day. This time around we're taking a line from the show Tokyo Ghoul, and this is going to be from the most recent season. I believe it's the third season, and it's simply titled Tokyo Ghoul Ri. And so the line that we're going to be covering in this lesson is going to translate into something along the lines of, as long as you're alive, you have an infinite number of chances. But if you die, there's nothing you can do anymore. 生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。命を落としたらもうどうしようもないんだ。
生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。命を落としたらもうどうしようもないんだ。
Okay, so what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to break this line down bit by bit and see what's going on with all of the grammar being used, which parts are kind of applicable to a real life conversation and which parts are kind of really anime kind of talk. And so the first thing that we're going to encounter when we look at this line in its original Japanese is going to be the verb word ikiru, which means to live. Here it's going to be used in a grammar pattern from the get-go here. It is the grammar pattern that we call basically the sae grammar pattern being used with a conditional ba verb word. This is a pretty intense grammar pattern. I'm not sure if we've covered before in a grammar lesson video. And even beyond that, in this particular usage of it, it's being kind of used in a even more special way. So let's take our time to see how this is working. When we use the sae is going to be a particle basically that is going to translate to something along the lines of only or as long as, and it's always used with a verb in its conditional ba form. And like I just said, the ba form is kind of the conditional or hypothetical form. So this grammar pattern is basically used to express if only you do something or as long as you do something, then something else will happen, whatever you say in the rest of the sentence. And usually the particle sae here will modify basically the direct object. So you say direct object sae, and then you say the verb in its conditional ba form, and that will mean basically as long as you verb that noun, then something something. Here we're doing something a bit different. We do not have a noun here. We don't really have a direct object here, and the sae is following another verb, our first verb here, ikiru, which means to live, in its te form. So what is that doing instead? Basically, it's just dropping the direct object from the formula because it's using a verb that doesn't require a direct object, such as to live. You don't do that action onto something else, you do it intransitively, you yourself lives. And so what we're basically doing is we're using the sae ba grammar pattern and placing it onto the te form of a verb plus iru or imasu, which is kind of a grammar pattern in and of itself, and we're combining them both. So this is basically just being ikite imasu with sae ireba added onto it. You'll see here that the verb that turns into the ba form is just going to be that verb iru, the helping verb kind of. So it turns into ireba, and the sae gets plugged in between the verb conjugating to the te form and the iru. And so in the end we have ikite sae ireba, and this is going to translate to basically as long as you live, or as long as you're alive. And this is going to mean that whatever you say after this grammar pattern here is going to be the thing that is going to be true as long as you're alive. And the nuance of the grammar pattern being used here is basically saying that you have to keep on doing the action to fulfill the condition for the rest of the sentence to be true. So here we're emphasizing that living is a continuous action going into the future. You're not just going to do the action once and then you're done. You have to keep on doing it, which is why we used ikite iru as opposed to just ikiru. Alright, so ikite sae ireba, and now what is going to be true as long as you're alive? Well, it's going to be chansu wa nando de mo aru.
生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。
And so the first word right there is going to be the word chansu, which means chance. It's just the English word chance. We have the particle marker or wa marking as the topic. And then we have the phrasing nando demo, which is just going to be kind of this set expression that means basically any given number of times. Then we have the existential verb aru, which means basically to be or to have. So chansu wa aru is going to mean to have a chance. Plug in the nando demo, and that's just going to mean basically you have any number of chances, or more naturally in our translation, you'll have an infinite number of chances. You'll always have a chance. So ikite sa ireba chansu wa nando demo aru is going to mean as long as you're alive, you'll have an infinite number of chances.
生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。命を落としたらもうどうしようもないんだ。
Now let's move on to the next sentence in this line, which is basically stating the opposite, saying, but if you die, Inochi o otoshitara. This is going to be the word inochi, which means life. We have direct object marker o, marking as a direct object, and we're using it with the verb otosu, which means basically to lose something. So inochi o otosu is going to mean basically to lose your life, or more naturally to die. Otosu is going to be translated into the tara form, which is similar to the ba form in that it can represent conditional or hypothetical. So basically, if you die as opposed to just to die. Then wrapping up this second sentence here is another kind of set expression. Mo do shiyou mo nai is going to be basically there's nothing else you can do. You're basically at a dead end and you have no other options basically. We're ending that with the and the da there because the there expresses a kind of explanatory nuance. Then we end it with the copula da, the sentence with the exclamation mark. And so yeah, that wraps up the second sentence. So let's review the whole line over. 生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。命を落としたらもうどうしようもないんだ. And this is going to translate to, as long as you're alive, you'll have an infinite number of chances. If you die, there's nothing you can do, or it's all over, or something along those lines.
生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。命を落としたらもうどうしようもないんだ。
So real quick, let's just review the grammar patterns that we came across in this line. Sae ireba. Sae plus some verb in its ba form is going to mean basically as long as that verb happens or you do that verb on some direct object, then something else happens. After that, the rest of the sentence is pretty darn simple. We just have some particles, the topic marker wa, the kind of set phrase nando demo, which means any number of times, other than the usage of the existential verb aru. Moving on to the second sentence, it's probably even more simple. We just have a direct object marker there. We have a verb in its tara form, which one of its uses is the hypothetical or conditional. And then again, we have another kind of set expression or phrase, mo do shiyou mo nai, and this is going to mean basically there's nothing else you can do, can't be helped, there's nothing to do. And so there you have it. That's going to wrap up our quick coverage of a line from the show Tokyo Ghoul, the second episode of this season. And it translates to, as long as you're alive, you have an infinite number of chances implied to do something, to do whatever you want to do. But if you die, there's nothing else you can do. There's nothing more you can do. It's all over. That's the end game.
生きてさえいればチャンスは何度でもある。命を落としたらもうどうしようもないんだ。
Alright, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Anime Line of the Day. Remember, if there were grammar patterns mentioned for this line, they'll be mentioned in the description or the pinned comment below with links to the individual lessons on them. You can also probably find them in the playlist of our complete grammar video series shown on the screen right here alongside our anime playlist. And last but not least, don't forget to try to translate the bonus line we provided. Leave your translation in a comment below. Check out our Patreon, like the video, and subscribe. With all that said and done, see you next time.